All right, welcome to Turnaround Tuesday live with EmpowerAg Trading. Thanks for joining us today. We got a better market today. Grain market's back, a heck of a lot better than yesterday. Monday, that's just nobody wants to look at the screen on Mondays when you have a market like that. So declines in crop condition ratings yesterday fueled a little bit of a rally here today. We got green on the screen and stability in your grain markets. A lot of fun to look at a board when it looks like it is today. So not so much fun to look at your crops out there as the summer is here, and drove around Kansas this week and got to see some crops very crispy out there in the West. We'd like a break from the heat, like a little rain to come, but we've got the rodeo in town. It's Dodge City Days week here in Dodge City, Kansas. The rodeo's in town, and nothing quite stirs up quite a rainstorm, quite like having a rodeo come to town. So we'll see if that pops up some showers for us locally. Let's see where we dive in. I'm going to roll the intro, and then we'll quote up your markets and bring in my guest, Connor B. with agmarket.net. Hang in there. All right, thanks for popping in. Hope your Tuesday's going great. Let's talk about your board and quote up these markets here for you. We got Dees corn up 6 cents at 4.80 and a quarter. We've got Nove beans up 6 cents at 12.19 and 3/4. KC wheat's down 4 and a quarter cents at 7.24. And your SEP contract July KC wheat down 7 and 3/4 of a cent at 7.52, hanging on to that 7.50 level after trading close to $8 last week on new crop July 27 KC wheat. Chicago wheat relatively unchanged. SEP is at 6.59 and 3/4, down a quarter of a cent. Looking over your cattle markets, we got August feeders up 5 and a quarter. We got October feeders up 2.40. The deferreds are giving some back a little bit here. Been all over the place on your feeder cattle market, but a little stability on your fronts. The deferreds under a lot of pressure though. Fat cattle, we got August fats up $1.90 and deferreds up $3 to $3.50 in your deferred contracts. The stock market, Dow is up 670 points, S&P up 26 points, and the NASDAQ under fire again, breaking the 28,000 level, down 195 points on your NASDAQ. Crude 78.74, down $3 to $4 on your crude market. All right, I'm gonna bring my guest in here and we'll chat it up. Mr. Connor B. with agmarket.net. How are you, Connor?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm hot. I'm hiding inside. It's that time of year where you got outside work to do. You do it in the mornings because you ain't getting a second chance. When it's a cooker out there, it's like a skillet. I'm avoiding any outside work that I have to do in the afternoon. So
I don't blame you. We've had some. It's been hot, high of 95 yesterday. We're cooling off a little bit. Nights are going to be in the 60s, high of in the mid 80s, I believe, for the next few days. So we've been hot, but it looks like it's a little bit cooler forecast moving forward.
I'm envious. Yeah. My son, we played state baseball in Kansas City, our last weekend baseball tournament. And we get these, the heat index, the shelter, be careful. Well, they shorten the games, but the humidity too kicks my butt. I'm not used to the humidity. So we go out there, we got 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock games, and I can't handle it. It's just a cooker out there. And there was no breeze. I'm used to a breeze as well, Connor. We got 40-mile-an-hour winds out here on the regular. Nothing, just dead calm, soaking humidity. Yeah, multiple underwear changes that day, Connor B.
Yeah.
Anyway, so grain markets, crop conditions fall yesterday. Spark a little rally here. What's your thoughts here looking at grain markets here on a Tuesday?
Yeah, I think we got to talk about yesterday a little bit and just the bloodbath we saw, especially in soybeans, but corn as well. Looked like it was going to be a little bit of a continuation. But then I think you mentioned it, crop conditions, right? A 4% drop in corn crop conditions, Brady, that's the largest declines we've seen in 3 years. And it's the largest decline we've seen in July since 2012. So I know I knock crop conditions a lot for how much maybe they shouldn't matter. but that's a big drop. And I think it's indicative to how this crop, no matter where it, how high and how much potential you think it had, it's walking backwards right now. It's yet to be determined how far. But that's a big drop in crop conditions, and I think your area, Western Corn Belt, was a big part of that.
Yeah, it feels like it's a story of have and have nots right now. There's a tale of two crops almost, where you've got Iowa crop at 80% good to excellent. I think Illinois, the state of Illinois, was at 59% good to excellent on corn. But Kansas, Dakotas, Nebraska, the Western Corn Belt, and probably even parts of Minnesota maybe that are going backwards a little bit too. So it's definitely some have and have nots out there, it feels like, and the top end coming out of some areas. Man, on my trip out to KC, I just jumped back to that because I see a lot of the country, and there was flashed corn across the state of Kansas. So that heat and then the drought, you stack them up together, and I saw a lot of fields that were hanging in there, and you could tell they were thirsty. But some of those fields were flashed already from top to bottom, just lots of leaf flashing and stuff. So tough environment. I got to think from a producer perspective, Connor, that's going to impact basis a lot going forward as we have pockets of good where there's maybe an abundant crop in parts of the Corn Belt, but you get out west and maybe there's some areas that maybe have some hotter basis as we get deeper into the marketing year going forward. So something to keep your eye on.
Absolutely. I know Iowa 80%. I talked to quite a few guys that would debate how good that Iowa crop looks, right? I wonder if we could go county by county. It might be a little bit different story, but time will tell there, right? I did see Arlen Suderman. He put out his estimate. It was a bit. You remember last year? It was a big. The guy got roasted on Twitter, and it turns out he was pretty dang close to what the USDA had. So he pulled back his yield. He's still at a 183, but continues to drop it. So I think even if you're looking at crop conditions, if you're more just wondering, what weather models is your average fund going to use, right? Either way, I don't think we can debate that this crop's pulled back. Now, are we in the territory where this crop, hey, the best it can make is a 178, 179, or something that just is, significantly lower than what the USDA is? I'm not there, right? Brady, you could call me out for having backyarditis that we still look good in Christian County. But I'm not quite at that level yet to where this crop's just going to take a big leap back. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I would say maybe you do have some backyarditis, Connor B. I know I've got backyarditis because I look out there and I step outside and it's hot. And yes, things are melting, they're getting crispy. So that impacts my bias. And I think that's something for every producer to keep in mind wherever you're at. If you're in Illinois, if you're in Iowa, if you're in Dakotas, you're in Kansas, what is the situation in your own backyard? And be cognizant of how is that impacting your bias of where this market needs to go. And if you think that your crop's firing up, it's hard to go out there and market when when you're losing bushels and you thought you had 200 bushels of corn out there and you're worried that you're going to have 150 bushels of corn. If you've got 100,000 sold or 100 bushels an acre sold, how do you go market another 100 bushels an acre if you don't think you're going to have it? It's tough. And you got to use some flexible tools that enable you to go do that. But I want to pull, since you're talking about it, I think it fits in a little bit here. This is a weekly front month corn continuation chart. So looking at long term, this goes back, the far left side of that chart is 2018, 2019. You see the big rally we saw in 2020. You throw up here, this is that $5 level, that line going across there. That's been a pretty good level to go reward this market for a front month contract on your corn area. What do you see when you look at this chart, Connor B?
Yeah, the same thing. just how important and how much a $5 level can come into play. And so that's just front month futures. I want to point out March today we traded 499, Brady. We're at right around 495. But it's one of those, I feel like this market right now, it feels like we're on the precipice, right? Because if we have significant pullback in yield, if we have the demand comes in, then if we have China step in and buy some U.S. corn as well, right? That's where we get north of $5 running up to 6, right? But are those dominoes going to fall? I think a lot of times in grain marketing, before we know what that card's going to be, bearish or bullish, before it's flipped over, if we can be proactive, now's the time to do it, especially if you maybe don't have bin storage or need some cash flow. So that's where my head goes right now, is that we have to respect a couple things. We have to respect it's July 28th. Seasonals, this is a counter seasonal rally already. Can we keep it going and rally into early part of harvest and into harvest, right? We're gonna need some of those factors to come into play. But then also, I think if you're a grain bear, right? If you're just like, it's July 28th, sell corn, don't overthink it. We got to respect the other factors, right? Like you're talking about, is how big is this U.S. corn crop? The other one, I think it's time to start pointing out USDA report August 12th. A lot of chatter about, if the USDA messed up yield and acres for last year, can we see some type of bullish correction on August 12th, right? I know you're probably not putting all your eggs in that hat, Brady. I don't think anyone should, but that's, that gets brought up a lot, is that potential to see a pullback on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of pieces to the puzzle going forward, and a lot of day-to-day noise and outside market noise. And yeah, this crop it's the size of the crop is getting determined right now still. So it's hard to predict where this thing's going to go if we can't predict if it's going to rain or not tomorrow, and how broad that rain event is.
Right.
You rewind the clock to a couple of years, we had a derecho storm event come in late August and catapult this market into another dimension. At that point, you couple that with some Chinese buying, and who knows where this thing's going to go. So be careful putting a lid on the potential. But like you said there, in the same breath, respect the rally that we've seen. And I like what you said there about cash flow and what bushels need to move, when they need to move, and converting those bushels to cash, and thinking about those pieces of the puzzle. A lot of times, that if you have on-farm storage, you've got time, you can throw it in the bin and do some things to protect that price, capture the carry, benefit from a better basis post-harvest. But those bushels that go to town straight out of the field, those are priority bushels to stay on top of and stay in front of. And this might be the few weeks of the year where you need to be making sure you got that plan in place for harvest.
Yeah, absolutely. To continue the theme of the the narrative back in March that corn's going to follow crude oil and it's going to go, well, that hasn't rang true. And again, it's not true. Big negative day in crude yesterday. We're down right at 360 today. And so that just continues to not be true for 2026, where corn follows crude oil. Today, it's a good thing, right? Crude oil's down. We've got corn up. While I think we were up as much as 9. It's kind of, we started off negative, had a nice rally, I think right around 10:30, 11, and we're kind of fading a little bit. Interesting to see where we close today.
Yep. That you're talking crude, right? The crude.
Corn. I was talking corn there.
Oh, corn. Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Yeah, crude's all over the place. Back below, what are we, back below $80 a barrel on crude?
Yeah.
So that's are we going to 100? I mean, I remember calls, you rewind the clock to March like you're talking about, and calls for $150, $200 crude to trade. And then we quickly sold off back down to the sub 70 level. And then we had a nice rally here the month of July, up to $95 a barrel on your WTI crude, and have given back $15 on 15, 25. Well, that's $25. So yeah, my math is a little, I went to K-State, Connor B. So got to take my Crocs off to do my math,
Yeah, no, I follow you.
But
yeah, yep. I think we got to respect, I'm looking at that March 495 to $5, where we've hung out there for a little bit this past week, and then back in April and May. But I think that's one that you've got to respect and see, anything where we get close to that $5 level. I think it's time to start having that conversation.
Yep, think so too. And it's button up things. Look where you're at. Don't underestimate where this market can go. Keep that upside open. Another thing, maybe we touch on a little bit. 27 crop knocking on $5 out there for D's 27 corn.
Yep.
sometimes 18 months ahead of that harvest is a good time to go whittle something off. I always like, Connor, when I'm struggling to get into that last bit of control on the current crop, going out there and looking at that next year. If I'm like, I just sold some of this 26 yesterday or the day before, how much more do I want to extend myself? Yeah, go out there and look at that next year and whittle something off out there.
Absolutely. We touched $5 last week. Right now it's around $4.90, so it's still hanging up there. So
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right, where do you want to go from here, Connor B? I can talk a little bit of cattle stuff. I don't want to talk cattle. Cattle they suck in July. It's been ugly. But we have at least a little stability on the board today. Had a couple big reports last Friday, but the big announcement was the reopening of the Mexican border and how that's going to impact the market. Funds they don't want to buy this market. They're just stuck on the sell button naturally and don't have the confidence to come in here and buy this market. And I think, to me, you need boxed beef to shift to a different paradigm. You need some support there, but I don't know what causes boxed beef to rally right now. I think the imported beef from Brazil, Australia curbs what the chuck and the round can do on your boxed beef value and kind of limits that upside there, and really is impacting the ability for the packer to push into positive, get to a flat margin. They're stuck in a negative margin environment, and they're definitely the feed yard lacks leverage, and they're able to pass that negative margin onto the feed yard. And in turn, that's starting to trickle over where it's going to eat into the cow-calf margins, stocker margins. So it's kind of dark and gloomy right now. Get lots of calls about what should I do? What can I do? Where am I at? I hate marketing after a sell-off, Connor. I don't know about you, but it's no fun when corn breaks 40, 50 cents, or when cattle break 40, 50 bucks. That's not it. It wakes people up to, I should have managed risk. What should I do now? But it puts you in a precarious position to go out there and make those decisions of, what do I do now?
There's nothing worse, right? And that's why, an old mentor of mine always said, buy puts when you can, not when you have to. But I'd say that. And then, for me, in the corn and soybean world, where it's the middle of fall, basis sucks. You don't have the bin storage. It's like, oh, Connor, what should I do? Should I store it or should I sell it? And it's like, gosh dang, it's the worst. It's historically the worst time to be making that decision. And there's nothing worse than when it's like, gosh dang, the avenue, it looks like we're going to have to store this crop just because bean basis is god awful, what have you. So yeah, I'm with you. Those are just the two of the worst conversations to have.
I call it rescue marketing. It's when in the crop consulting days, my agronomy days, you get that call, 6-foot weeds. You can't kill a 6-foot weed or a 3-foot weed. Heck, you can barely kill a 6-inch weed nowadays with the chemistries that we got. But you don't come in and say, what should I spray to knock down this 6-foot tall weed? You go be proactive, be early, stay on top of it early, rather than come in and try to rescue market your way into success. So,
yeah. Did you see it came out that someone, it was probably you, actually, I don't know why I'm saying this, but buyer purchased 100,000 $556 call spreads?
Okay, not me, Connor B. Okay, disclaimer, full disclaimer, not me.
And wow. for the viewers, right, that is 100,000. That would be 500 million bushels that looked at buying. And so on paper, it got a lot of chatter because, holy crap, that is a massive trade. But you always wonder, what are they? Are they protecting a position? When we look in these spec funds, it could be a lot of moving parts. But did you see that come out last week?
Yeah, caught a lot of buzz, and those things always hit like at a bullish point of the market. And it goes back to a point I'd say is, to sell a top in the market, you got to sell it at the most bullish point, the euphoric part of the market, when everybody else is all excited that it's going to the moon. That's when, sometimes the top can be in. But yeah, that caught a lot of buzz last week. And you never know, to your point, you hit on there, of what is that doing? Is that covering a hedge? Is that a delta trade? There's a lot of math and maybe science behind it that I'm not smart enough to understand all the time. But what's that trade protecting? What's it doing? And what's the other side of it? And I always go back to the point, if there's a buyer of that, Somebody
There's a seller.
wrote it and sold it to me, right?
We are in a zero-sum game, aren't we?
Yeah.
But if we get up to the $5.50, $6 levels, that's the fun conversations, right? It'd be great to see that level. I think if we get to $5 and worried it's going to 6, you and I know what we can do, right? We know how to protect ourselves. If the market's at $4, it's kind of like we're out of options, right? There's nothing we can do when it's already at the lows or low or well below break even. That's where things get difficult.
Yep. It's a fun market to be a part of. We love rallying markets. It's a heck of a lot fun to be a farmer when you're making money. It's a heck of a lot more fun to be a farmer when you're at these types of levels or better, the optimism that could come, but you got to have the bushels. And if you've sold them too aggressively out of the gate, you got to find a way to stay in the game going forward and benefit from the euphoric parabolic type of market. I mean, rewind the clock, look at what wheat did in the month of July. Who saw that coming? I think there was a lot of wheat sold off the combine, and guys who didn't buy calls, they wanted the cash, converted to cash, sticking it in the bin and storing it, didn't pay the last 3-4 years of doing that. You just racked up storage and interest charges. Did you do that again this year? That recency bias of what's happened the last few years, I'm going to do the opposite because this never works. And boom, we have a rally like we just seen. So, got to be careful with it.
I'm bringing up old adages that I always heard on this show, I guess. But the other one is, this market is not a team player, right?
Okay.
It's I don't know. This one always keep in my head when we're thinking, if everyone's bullish, just start trying to think about being a contrarian at times. That'd be my advice.
Yes. Everybody's on the same side of the boat. What's wrong with the other side of the boat? Don't be rushing over there with everyone else when they're. Don't market like the herd. I love it. Cool. Yeah. All right, Connor B. Anything else you want to hit on before we rock and roll here today?
No. Let's see where this market goes. Let's see where this week goes. It's going to be interesting to see what we're talking about next Tuesday.
Right. Yep. So that August report's coming up. What are we, 2 weeks away from it? So we've got
the 12th, right?
Yep, the 12th. So that's a Wednesday, it looks like. Not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. Lots going to happen. Lots going to change here in your markets. Appreciate y'all joining us today. Each week, send out the weekend wrap to customers and clients. I just want to plug this real quick. If you want to receive that video, get that market information, that's where actionable type stuff is, actual strategies and recaps of things. Head on over to my website, www.EmpowerAgTrading.com. Leave some contact info. Make sure you get all the info there. With that, appreciate you joining me today, Connor B. agmarket.net. You're the best. Love you, man.
Yep. Have a good one.
We'll see you.